Earl Thomas says, "We're number one," as he leaves the stadium in Arizona.
That was amazing, wasn't it?
Looking like it was going to his own bench, even though Pete Carroll says, well, it's a big stadium. I don't know where.
Trey saying we're number one. If you didn't see it, he was on the cart getting carted off, and he flipped the bird, and it looked like to the Seattle Seahawks sideline.
No, he did do it to the Seahawks sideline.
Yeah.
The question is, who was he doing it to on the Seahawks sideline?
I think it was a collective, your organization. Because Pete Carroll doesn't control the purse strings there. So, I mean, or I guess you could have a say in it. Either way, there's a lot of animosity there, and it's probably the last time he's put on a uniform for the Seattle Seahawks.
I think that's a fair thing to say at this point in time. Look, his contract's up after this year. Turns 30 years old, free agent, wanted out of there. You see his feelings toward the organization. They were very evident. So he's wanted to go play in Dallas. You almost expected he's going to go play in Dallas, right? Dallas, why would Dallas not want Earl Thomas if he's going to be willing to play there? So to me, that's a marriage waiting to happen in the offseason, and we'll see if that actually unfolds.
Well, let me ask you this, because there were rumors of the potential trade maybe being. How close was there to a trade being in the works for Earl, and then this happens?
Well, the Seahawks, as it was described to me over the weekend, were stuck. That was the word that was used, stuck on a second-round pick. But I think eventually it was going to happen where Earl Thomas was going to be traded to Kansas City. That's what I believe would have happened, because the Chiefs had the extra second-round draft pick that they got from the Rams last offseason from Marcus Peters. So the Chiefs are sitting there with 2 twos right now. They're sitting there with an unbeaten record. They're sitting there with Andy Reid wanting to do anything he can to win a Super Bowl. And if you've got a chance to go out and get a potential Hall of Fame safety when Eric Berry's got some health issues in his foot right now, his heel, why would you not do that? I mean, if it's going to cost you a second-round pick, so what? You got a chance to have a special season in a conference where there's nobody that just jumps out and stands out. I think eventually he would have been traded to Kansas City, but it's difficult to say it was close to happening right now, Trey.
Yeah, the whole thing is a mess. It's an absolute mess.
It is a mess, and so we saw in the fallout from that some comments from his teammates, and something I thought was interesting in the wee hours in the morning as we post something on Instagram about it, the response from LeVeon Bell in the comment section.
That was unbelievable, wasn't it?
Just finding his way in there, a guy who we haven't heard a ton from throughout this time period, but when it happens like that and when it seems so relevant to his situation, Adam, right now, the exact thing he was looking to avoid.
Well, for those who missed it, basically, I'll give you the details because I have it on my phone. Bobby Wagner came out and said on the ESPN Instagram account, if he doesn't come, then he's not a team player. If he does come and gets hurt, then he shouldn't have come. If I was him, I'd be pissed off. That's what Bobby Wagner says. ESPN writes, Seahawks captain Bobby Wagner provides some perspective on Earl Thomas. First comment, LeVeon Bell. SMH exactly. Get right, bro, Earl. I'll continue to be the bad guy for all of us.
Yeah. So essentially what we're saying here is that LeVeon Bell, what happened to Earl Thomas is exactly why LeVeon Bell is doing what he's doing. Because he's playing for next year. Whatever happens with him this year, he's really he's all in to make sure I'm ready and ready to go in 2019.
Tell everyone again, Adam, what LeVeon has to do this year, when he has to report, how that has to work.
Well, what's interesting, and we talked about this on Countdown yesterday, okay? Here's going to be the question and the issue that LeVeon Bell potentially faces. The Pittsburgh Steelers after this year could decide to slap the transition tag on him. Now, if they slap the transition tag on him, the salary for the transition tag would be 120% of this year's salary that he earns. The problem is
he's not earning any salary.
He's not earning salary.
Yeah.
So if he comes in later, the transition tag salary could be anywhere, based on my projections, between $9 million and $13 million. So the transition tag would be less than the franchise tag this year.
That he balked at.
Now, he will challenge that through an arbitrator saying you can't do that again. But the CBA is the CBA, and there are certain rules, and we'll see how this plays out. The one thing that became apparent to me in the many conversations I had with a lot of people this weekend is by him staying away, he is, I think it's fair to say, at least jeopardized the chance that he could be free, earn more. We don't know how this is going to play out, but it's a sticky situation where if the Steelers decide that they want to use the transition tag on him, and the transition tag is basically like a franchise tag that would give them the chance to match any offer sheet. Then
or get compensation in return.
Right.
Or get no compensation in return. We're looking at a very unique situation. We've never seen a player be franchised twice, then get transition
Right.
tag after he held out. So it's a tough thing to say how it's going to shake out, but I can tell you this. There are a lot of people wondering about how that's going to shake out. How about that?
Of course they are. Now, listen, what's interesting is Adam Schefter is with us from the Adam Schefter podcast. That's one side of this that the Steelers could do. We also heard that they were maybe amenable to trading him.
Yeah.
Where are we on that situation with LeVeon Bell?
They have gotten inquiries from other teams, and other teams have called. There haven't been any talks that have heated up yet, okay? And personally, I don't think it'll take a lot to get Le'Veon Bell out of Pittsburgh. We know he's a transcendent talent. That's not the issue. If he were to leave after this year, if they basically allowed him to walk, didn't transition tag him, let him become a free agent, and he signed with another team, they would get back, in all probability, based on their free agent activity, a 2020 third-round pick, compensatory pick. So if somebody gave them a third-round pick this year, that's better than the third-round pick in 2020.
Correct.
So to me, that would be the price. I think if somebody was willing to offer a third, I think they might be willing to trade him.
Do we know, as Adam Schefter is with us, any idea if he's amenable to playing for a new team in that situation? Because again, he's all in for saving his body for free agency because the last guaranteed money offer he got from the Steelers was $30 million, and then Todd Gurley gets $45 guaranteed in his new deal for the Rams. So if he's all about making sure that he's good to go when he can get that big free agent dollars, how amenable is he to actually being on a team for a reasonable amount of time if they make the trade for him?
I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, because that's the wild card.
Okay,
here, right?
like here's the deal. I would think it would depend on the team, the situation, what that team says to him. Look, any team that trades for Le'Veon Bell can sign him. I think the regular season, the last day this year is December 30th.
Right.
So they could sign him December 31st to an extension.
Right.
According to the CBA.